Here are the solutions for number 4. Before you listen to this, you should have had a go at all the questions. So, question 1. Complete the table of values for y equals 3x plus 4. So, very straightforward. This means to work out y, we're going to do 3 times x, and then we're going to add 4. So, start at the positive end, because it's easier to get your maths right. So, we're going to do 3 times 1, which is 3, plus 4, which is 7. Now we're going to go to 0. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. Now, very easy to get the negatives wrong, so what I'd suggest you do, the easiest way to do is look at the pattern, and you can see, starting here, it's going down in 3s each time, which means that this one here is going to be minus 2, and of course we can see that if we do 3 times minus 2, we get minus 6, plus 4 gets us to minus 2. Now, each column is a pair of coordinates, so the first coordinate is the x, so that's minus 2, and then the y, which is also minus 2. This column here, the x is minus 1, and the y is 1. The x is 0, and the y is 4. The x is 1, and the y is 7, and so on. And then you plot them. Just be careful you plot them the right way around. So minus 2, minus 2. So minus 2 is here, minus 2 down is there. Just be careful to read the scales correctly. And then we've got minus 1, 1. Minus 1 along, 1 up. The next one was 0 along, 4 up. And you can see they all line up nicely. So what I'd suggest to you is that you draw yourself with a ruler preferably. Unfortunately, haven't figured out how to do a ruler on this. Then we've got 1, 7, so that is here. And then finally we've got 2, 10, which is there. And if they don't line up, then the one that doesn't line up, or the 2 that don't line up, you've made a mistake. So go back and check what you've done at the top. Don't forget to draw the line. One of these 2 marks is for actually drawing a line. Question 2. So Eddie's hired a car. Cost of hiring it was £620. £1 is £1 is €1.25. Work out the cost of hiring the car in euros. So we know that we've got pounds and we've got euros, and £1 is €1.25, and we want to know what 620 is. So you can see very straightforward, that's times by 620 times by 620, and €1.25 times by 620 is 775. So that's our answer. Now, Eddie bought some perfume in Italy. Good old Eddie. Cost of the perfume was €60. The same perfume in London was £42. Then work out the difference between the cost in Italy and the cost in London. And they want the answer in pounds. So what that means is we've got to convert our €50 into pounds. So we can do that using our little table. So we've got our pounds, we've got our euros, and we know that £1 is €1.25, and we know that we want €50 in pounds, so we want to know what goes here basically. Now, very hard to go from there to there in one go, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 1 first. I'm going to divide by 1.25, so any number divided by itself gives you 1, and to go from 1 to 50 I can times by 50. And I just do the same thing over here, divide by 125, and then times by 50. So that's with 1. 1 divided by 1.25 gives me 0.8, and 0.8 times 50 gives 40. So let's just get this all straight. So that was our Italy. So Italy costs £40, that's the one we worked out. London costs £42, so the difference is £2. Now, some slightly harder questions. Right, we've got two shapes. They look like upside down goldfish bowls, don't they? Which makes me think I want a goldfish in them. There's a goldfish. And let's have a goldfish in this one. There we go. Now, they are mathematically similar. And that is a bit of code for me that's telling me to use this bit of maths. It's telling me that the two shapes are enlargements of each other, basically. And that means I need to know a scale factor. Now, they've given us two surface areas, and that's the key word. It's all about area. So they are telling us the area scale factor. Now, if I do 50 divided by 18, 50 divided by 18, then I get 2.7 recurring, which is also the same as 25 over 9. That's what my calculator says anyway. So, what that means is to go from B to A, this direction, the area scale factor is times by 25 over 9. Actually, the area scale factor is 25 over 9. So this one here is 25 ninths times bigger, or 2.7 recurring. I've written the fraction because I think it's a bit neater than having a recurring decimal, but you might prefer that. Now, if I know the area scale factor, I can square root it to get the length scale factor, or the linear scale factor, depending on which textbook you read. So, notice 25 and 9 are both square numbers. Square root of 25 is 5, square root of 9 is 3. So that's the length scale factor. However, the question is all about mass. And mass is related to volume, which means I need the volume scale factor. And to get that, I cube the length scale factor. So it's the length scale factor cubed. So the volume scale factor is equal to 5/3 cubed, which is equal to 125 over 27. Now, the mass of A is 500 grams. So if I want to go back to B, I'm going to have to divide by this. So the mass of B is 500 divided by the volume scale factor, which is 500 divided by, I'm just popping into the calculator now, 125 over 27, which is 108. And that is grams. So just to make it a little bit clearer, perhaps I'm just going to add that to my diagram. Let me get this out of the way. So what I've just said is that the volume scale factor is this one cubed. This one cubed is going to be 5 cubed, which is 125, and 3 cubed, which is 27. Now, because I need the mass here, 500, if I was going to go this way, I'd obviously have to go the other way through this scale factor. I'd have to divide by it. If I knew what B was and we're going this way, it would be multiplication. Hopefully, that is clear. Now, next question. Okay, a bit of transformations of graphs here. So we've got the graph of y equals f of x. So that's this one here. This is f of x here. It goes up, down, and then carries on up again. That's a cubic curve by the looks of it. Now, it tells us that graph G is a translation of the graph of y equals f of x. And we can see that because it's been moved over here and this has just been moved over here, and it's the same shape. Remember, translate is just moving around as opposed to stretches and rotates and reflects and so on. So write down in terms of f the equation of graph G, and very straightforward, it's going to be f of x, and it's moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right, so it's going to be minus 5. So that is the equation of graph G. So y equals f of x minus 5. And there's basically several simple rules for this. If it's a translate, then it's a plus or a minus. And if it's a stretch, which this one isn't, then it's a multiply, or of course it could be a divide. Now, part 2. The graph has a maximum point at minus 4, 3. Write down the coordinates of the maximum point of the graph of y equals f minus x. So, minus 4, 3 is here, and we want to know where it's going to go if we have this. Now, process of working out what this means. Inside the brackets means in the x direction. Okay, and in this case it's going to be a reflection in the line x equals 0, which is the y-axis. So y equals f of minus x is going to look like this. This point here is going to go over here, so it's going to come down like this, and then that point there is going to end up over here. It's going to come back up to there, and then it's going to shoot off down to here somewhere. So hopefully you can see that it's reflected. So this point is going to end up over here. It's going to be 4, 3. If it was y equals minus f of x, then this would be in the y direction. It's the line y equals 0, which is the x-axis. And the reflections are a little bit confusing because of that. If you say you had y is equal to f of x minus 2, that's in the x direction, that would move it right. If it was plus 2, it would move it left. And if you had y is equal to f of 2x, that would be a stretch, and that would be in the x direction as well. So if it's inside the brackets in the x direction, just remember when you're talking about a reflection that it's about the line x equals 0, which is the y-axis, and that's a confusing thing. If it was outside the brackets, then it's in the y direction. So here's a y reflection. You could have f of x plus 2, that would be a translate in the y direction because it's outside the brackets, or y is equal to 3 f of x, that's a stretch in the y direction, and again it's in the y direction, it's outside the brackets, each of these is, and that's how you can tell them apart. Hope that was helpful. Email me if you have any problems.